All right, welcome back, everyone. It's my second one of the day. Unfortunately, Caleb had to cancel yesterday, so we're doing it today. But it is Wednesday. I got Aaron Foster back on, as you know him as the pot stirrer, and new guest we got Caleb Macias. So welcome, fellas.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Aaron kind of filled us in a little bit about you, Caleb, but maybe quickly introduce yourself and tell us what your story is all about.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Caleb Macias. And I've been here in San Antonio for 17 years. Well, I've been in San Antonio my whole life, but with the San Antonio Fire Department for 17 years. Absolutely love it. Love the job. I'm in EMS now, so I'm on an ambulance every shift. Was on a fire truck for 13 years and then made the switch. Um, really, what I was seeing was a lot of guys just not feeling like the hill of finance was just too hard to climb. So they would just kind of give up, back off. They may put some money into a 457, but for the most part, they'd just be like, we'll figure it out when we get there. And they would get there to 25 years and be like, well, I guess I'm staying to 33 because this didn't work out. And that pension's not going to be enough. And I'm going to need to max this thing out. And I don't have enough in the other side deals going on. And we got into real estate pretty early in our marriage, my wife and I, in our 20s and in 2015. And so, real estate was really good to us, got a little more into the stock market and just realized that, a lot of this stuff is not hard. We just need to be able to repackage it and just give it to the guys. Like, they're busy being firefighters, they're busy being moms and dads, they're busy being paramedics. They're doing their thing. They don't have time. Not everyone has the time to go nerd out on real estate and taxes and all that stuff. So if we can package this in a way to give them a 10-step process that says, okay, oh, that's why I would do Roth. That's why I would use my HSA. We got HSAs. They're powerful, powerful tools, but if you don't know about it, you're like, I'm not going to take the risk. Well, there's no risk, but you perceive it as a risk just because you don't know about it. So if we could gain their trust, and we trust one another for the most part. And
Speak
so,
for yourself.
yeah, well, for the most part, it's a little better than when those guys, we all have been around the kitchen table and we're all hanging out and somebody comes in, hey, can I get your time for a minute? And nobody trusts them. No, everybody's like, okay, yeah, you can have your spiel. And then, thanks for bringing the donuts and, take off. So it's, we're doing our best to just package this thing in a way that, that says, guys, it's not that complicated. You don't have to know everything about it, but if you can follow this step, if you can follow this process, you're going to do really well by the time you're going to give yourself options when you get to 20, 25. And then, if you want to work to 30 years because you want to, not because you had to.
Absolutely, great message. Before we move on, we got some people tuning in. I see Brian Waters tuning in. It was on yesterday on the live stream, but he's a fire captain out in LA County. And you're talking about, yeah, like, so the joke on it was his crew put out the reel on Instagram about the Brian Waters what real estate class or finance class. They had all the parking stalls, all the signs pointed to meet Brian Waters, but he was also on Bigger Pockets recently, so go definitely check him out. Joe V, as usual, here throwing some jabs at firefighters. But he said Joe V is saying, "Are all the firefighters still sleeping?" He said, "Is Caleb a water fairy also?" So it sounds like you have jumped on the ambulance, though, right? Is that correct, Caleb?
That's
Literally,
correct. Yeah, that's
literally
correct.
wax.
You know,
Also, I did put, if you want to connect with Caleb, there is his Instagram page, First Responder Finance. So go check him out there. And also Aaron's First Responder Financial Freedom on YouTube. So go check them out there also. But Flavio is excited because he says it's Flavio Macias. So he's wondering, where is the
heck
last
yeah,
name
man.
come from? He's asking.
I think we looked it up. I think it's Spanish. Came over. My family's from Mexico, and my dad's side, and then my mom's side is from Germany. So I'm pretty mixed, mixed American. But yeah, probably Spain.
All
I've
right.
got a great story about Spanish white guys.
Do we want to dig into that now? I don't. We just started, man.
Hey man, might as well get the
All
entertainment a little
right.
bit
All
early.
right. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, so me and my buddy Mike were both in the southeast part of DC when we first started our career. Right, a little bit rougher area, a little bit busier. We both transferred to an area. I was Morgan, Columbia Heights, very like Spanish dominant. Right, so I can speak my little Spanglish. I was halfway decent at. I was conversational for at a point. And Mike, when he transferred up, his last name is Ramirez, right? So he said, "That's where I want to go, and that's where my peoples are. I want to go to this area." Blah blah blah. So they transferred him up to where my firehouse was, and it was my lieutenant who was black, Mike, which is black with a Spanish last name, and me, pale skin, pink white boy. So we get in a call with this Spanish guy's, down, and I'm trying my little Spanglish, like, what's wrong with you, blah blah blah, and my lieutenant, the black guy, was like, "Hey man, why the white boy speaking that shit? Like, you need to speak that shit. Go ahead and talk to this dude." And Mike's like, "Man, the only two Spanish words I know is hola and Ramirez." And he's like, "Man, you fake ass Spanish mother." So he's like, "Man, the white boy gonna take over from here on out." He's like, "You're not allowed to talk to nobody." So that's my white boy Spanish joke story.
Nice.
All right, so Caleb, your Instagram page or your branding, what is that all about? I mean, how long ago did you start that? I mean, are you helping mainly people in your area? I see you posting a lot of things, but it's like it has like different departments, and then it talks about maybe like a retirement plan or something. So what is that all about?
Right. So what I wanted to do was give guys specific numbers. In every department does it different, right? So Denver Fire Department, they may get $1,000 of seed money to their HSA. Here in San Antonio, we get like 2175, and that's if you do a health assessment. Like there's lots of little details, but once you do those things, then you kind of know, hey, this is how much per paycheck you would need to put into your HSA to max it out. If you just throw it out there, like you can do $7,500 a year into a Roth IRA, they're like, okay, well, what is it? Now I have to go do the math. Well, don't worry about it. It's $625 a month, and you can max out a Roth IRA. You can decide what you want to do from there, but this is how much you can put in there without getting in trouble with the IRS. So that was kind of the idea behind that. So we went into each, all these things are public. So I can just go on and see the 2026 benefits plan for most of these departments. And they're all a little bit different. And then you kind of get into you can get into the nitty gritty of their retirement systems. Utah has a really cool whole statewide retirement system. So you're kind of getting into explaining a little bit, how that works. So that was kind of the idea. We do have one generic one that anyone from any department could use. And I got this from the Money Guys. The Money Guys podcast is out there, and they have their financial order of operations. They call it the F.I.R.E. And so essentially I just use that. But then again, we're not a lot of high earners. So I'm trying to get this into really, we're not going to be maxing out 457s, at 24,500 a year, more than likely. So hit the things that matter, max out your HSA, max out your Roth IRA, or put into your Roth 457. And you combine that with a pension. I mean, at 25 years, you are going to have a lot of options, let alone the fact that if you want to get into real estate, which I think is fantastic. I think the fire department is y'all know, it's a great job to have some stuff on the side, some side hustles, a rental property. But if you're like, I'm on a tech rescue team and I don't want to do anything but, do my job. I work a lot of overtime. I don't have time to think about all this stuff. If you do these steps, man, you're going to be set.
Yesterday on the Calem podcast with Emily, it was kind of like one of those things I was bringing up is, where's your money make the most sense? What can you make the most profit off of? In a 529, I think I'm getting average 6.5%. S&P is 10%. So some of the stuff is just if you don't have the brain power for it, then set it and forget it. Then there's these options like this, like the 529, the 457, your 401k, whatever your entity has.
Exactly. Yeah. A Roth IRA is really nice. If you're like, I kind of like to dabble in this stuff. I like to diversify. I want to find some really cheap ETFs and that are going to do really well. Then great, go with a Roth IRA, but it's a little more disciplined. You have to set up you got to get it into your bank account. Then you have to set up the automatic transfer to get into your Roth IRA or do that manually instead of it just coming out of your paycheck. And I think we all know for the most part, I mean, that's most people. It's not just firemen. It's everybody is we're all busy. Just take it out of my paycheck. I don't really care. I just want to pick the number and do that. And that's where we get into the 457 Roth versus the traditional. There's several studies out there that talk about how people in general, they just pick a number. And so they're going to pick $1,000 a month. So it doesn't matter whether it's traditional or Roth. Well, in that case, it does matter. They're not going to invest the tax savings, if that makes sense. So the only way that it makes sense to go Roth or traditional is if you know how much, your goal in the end, right? So it's not going to matter if the tax rates are the same, then it doesn't really matter which one you put in if you get to the same goal. So if you put 1,000, but if you put 1,000 into Roth and you put 1,000 in traditional, at the end, the number is going to be the same, but only one of them is getting taxed. And so for the most part, that's why we really push Roth.
So there's always, depending on your situation, I'll argue both sides of that. It's 457 is pre or post tax. That's the easiest way to look at it. Your pre-tax is going to be, you can write off against your earned income. Your post-tax, you've already paid the taxes now, so you don't have to pay the taxes later. There's two instances where you can pull the money out of a 457. It's going to be at separation from the department, or 59 and a half. So I think a lot of guys like, what do I do with it now? What I have access to it. One of the biggest obstacles that I've been talking to guys going into about this is when they go into retirement, they have 100, 200, 300. I know one guy who has close to $1 million and is 457. He goes, if I pull that out right now, it puts me in a higher tax bracket because it's all pre-tax. So now I'm in the 50 percentile for paying income taxes on these. So one thing that I think it takes a lot of brain power moving forward is like, once you're in a retirement account, it could be whatever account you want to talk about, but retirement account. If you take it out of the account and put it into something else, you're going to pay income taxes on it. So you can roll from one to the other in certain certain instances, but it really depends on what the rules are for this year, because the rules have been changing every year since I've been looking at this for the last 2 decades. So the 457 pre-tax, I don't invest in anymore. Once they gave us the option to invest in the after-tax, I did that. But that's also because my financial situation, I don't need those write-offs for as much as I was putting in, versus if I want to borrow against it, it's easier to borrow off of the contributions. You cannot borrow off of the growth. Two separate things. And I was looking at FDNYs the other day. I was talking to my buddy Thomas Dempsey, who's lieutenant up in Harlem, and he was sending me screenshots of how theirs is set up, and it's starkly different than mine. What we have now is Mission Square. We're actually rolling back into Voya. Voya was bought out by ING a decade ago. But looking at these things, it's kind of like, I want to see where the money's at, where the money's going, what I'm investing in. FDNY does not have that option. DC very much does. We have 33 options that we can look at. But I think it takes a little bit of education to get there. But it's one of those things. If Caleb or me or one of these guys like Brian can sit down with our guys for an hour, you can usually break it down. Like, oh, well, that makes more sense now. Like, okay, well, this is making the return. This is the 5-year or 10-year year to date. The 1 year, the projections for next year. Like, this is how it looks on the fund sheet. I just don't think that a lot of people understand it enough to have that conversation.
I just want to remind everyone that Aaron is also streaming on YouTube right now on the First Responder Financial Freedom side. So go jump over there and subscribe and comment. But Captain Brian Waters is saying you can take a $50K loan from 457 for a primary mortgage, 7%, 15-year payback term paid via paycheck. Refi that in a few years and pay back. Have you guys done that? Or
No. To me, something like that kind of adds a lot of complexity that, I'd rather just let that money grow. I mean, if it's a great deal, and some primary home that like it's my dream home, or it's to buy my, our forever home, then maybe so. But, for the most part, again, I've talked to a lot of guys who they retire, and they're in their 50s, some of them are even in their 40s, and they want to do something. And the only money they have access to is the money they put in their 457. And, obviously in real estate, they're pulling it out to do a down payment. And they're like, oh, shoot, like I just triggered a massive tax event. And if you ask them, like, because the limits are the same in a 457 for Roth or traditional. And if you ask them, like, would you have put any more into it or any less if it had been Roth? They'd have been like, no. I mean, it would have changed the taxes this year a little bit for some of them. It depends if you're married to a high earner or if you really work a ton of overtime and you're a captain or a chief or something like that. But for the most part, they're all going to sit on a pretty decent chunk of money in their 40s and 50s. And so, and it's from wanting to reinvest it to they want to put a pool in, they want to do whatever. Everything now is automatically a lot more expensive just because you picked traditional versus Roth and took the tax savings now instead of later. And there's a good argument, like, is it going to be, are taxes going to be higher in the future or not? Maybe. We really don't know. They could be lower, but because people are not really thinking about the tax savings now and that's not changing their number, I'd really push Roth.
taxes be lower, man. I don't know. I think I'd.
Yeah, that's a stretch, dog.
I agree. I agree with you. But I mean, you don't know, like, how somebody gets in there that they're like, we're going to lower income taxes and we're going to raise corporate taxes for, when you're in your, when you're in your early retirement, people could try to do that. And so
I'm not gonna go off my tangent about government overspending because I think we've gone in a rabbit hole
yeah.
on every podcast I've been on. But I'm gonna, hey, Mark, you care if I share my screen real quick?
Go ahead, man.
All right. So first, I'm gonna show the compound interest calculator. We did this in the same podcast. Same thing yesterday in the podcast. Sorry, my phone's going off. So say $1,000 is when you open up your 457 monthly contributions. So we get 26 paychecks a year. So if I want to do, we'll say $200 we'll say $200, $100 a paycheck. Length of time in years, 25 years in the fire department. Interest rate, we'll just say 10% matches the S&P. Variance 2%. So it could be it could be 8% or it could be up to 12%. So you'll have $246,000 after 25 years at running these numbers, right? So it could be higher, it could be lower. If you're at the 8%, you're at 182,000. If you're at the 10%, across the board, 246, and if you're at the 12%, you're at 337,000. Now, my opinion is always going to be, usually if a Republican's in office, especially a business Republican, then these rates will stay pretty stout, like the 10%, 8 to 12%. You can go back and look at a fund sheet. Let me see if this populates. All right. This is a fund sheet that you can look at. So this is obviously through Mission Square. You have Vanguard Target Retirement. So just in conversation purposes, they have the benchmark on what they actually reach. So your quarter to date, year to date, 1 year, 3, 5, 10s. Then you can look at what each year did. Everybody did bad in 2018 and 2022. So what the benchmark was versus what they actually lost versus what their benchmark is and what they actually obtained. So this is just one of the many. It'll tell you in a lot of these fund sheets what they're into, how many holdings they have, your PE ratio. The higher the net expense ratio and the PE ratio is, the higher the fees are for that fund. This tells you what they're going into, and then going into this page. Anytime you see a Vanguard Target Retirement and a date, 2030, 2035, 2040, 2045, 2060, whatever it is, what they do is they do the high return investing on the front end, and on the back end, they start going into bonds, right? So bonds, we'll say right now is like between 4 and 5%. So you have a higher rate of return on the front when you can take more risk, and they start going into a safer realm with the bonds because it's a guaranteed rate of return on the back end. So some people are going to do high risk, high reward the entire time. So we'll say this entire area stays light gray. Or people are like, I'm averse to risk. I don't want to take risk. I'm just going to go for bonds. So the blue will be more in this area. And you can see what they're invested in, the different holdings they have, and more information obviously within that. But this is a good way to kind of look and see, like, how is this fund doing, and is this something I want to invest in? So like obviously the last 2 years, let's see what they do. Last year they did 12.83, 18.38, and they lost 17%. They gained 14. So overall they've been doing pretty good the last 10 years. I don't know what they're going to do in the future. I have no idea, but that's why you want to go safe if you know that you're going to have somebody that you think is going to affect the rate of return for the stock market. That's when you start going into the safer realm of the bonds, like this shows here.
Right.
So that's since firefighters tend to learn from visual, that's kind of stuff I show the guys.
Absolutely. Yeah. The one that I always try to push for the guys to understand is, if you want to live off of your savings, the 4% rule is such a big one, which essentially is that, it's been back tested all the way to the Great Depression, that you can essentially live on 4% of your total savings. So if you have $1 million, you can expect to take about 25,000 a year from that stash. And so once you know that, then you can say, okay, well, a lot of guys like to project out their pension. I think I'm going to stay for 25 years based on the numbers are all right there. It looks like if I'm a lieutenant, I'll be at 70 grand a year. Okay, is that enough? I could probably use another 25 grand a year for threat. Okay, perfect. Then you need to get to $1 million. And so if you understand that, then it kind of gets you into a little, again, where you can just set it and forget it. So much of it's just automation. Guys don't want to automate stuff. They want to, we're chasing the shiny thing. I know, there's a lot of guys out there buying silver right now, and that's great. Like, it's awesome. It doesn't hurt to have a little side hustle, have a little thing you're working on. But that comes after the disciplined set it, forget it, and get yourself to your goal. And if you get above that, because you bought a gold bar for $3 and now it's 5,000, then great.
Was there something on silver today? I saw an X post. Was there a cap or something?
There's a jump. I would say jump. I would say it's a growth.
No, yeah, there was a growth, but then I thought I gotta go look again. But almost like they were not putting a freeze, but
they might be. I know it's kind of getting squeezed.
Yeah, because there is a limited. They need it for things, and so they're trying to So they're trying to restrict, I think, or something to that extent.
Restrict the amount that you can buy of actual.
Yeah. So I
don't know if you remember this conversation before. We talked about silver. You go into this is facts that are going on right now. When you build a missile out in the United States, they have about 500 ounces of silver, right? They need it for the conductivity. When you build a data center, there's an astronomical amount of silver, depending on the size of the data centers, for conductivity for the data centers. Silver, gold, whatever you want to do, platinum, whatever they're building the conductors out of. Japan they're going from a defensive position from military space into an offensive position. They're going to start stacking up on offensive materials. This is the first time they've done it since World War II. They've been defensive ever since then. But we'll say in World War II, since now, they've been accumulating money to create a offensive position rather than a defensive position. So that means they need to buy warheads, they need to buy missiles, they need to buy equipment, data centers. So like the demand for silver is going up so high, so fast. This is without my tinfoil hat on. I just know that the demand for the conductivity for these precious metals is there. And obviously a lot of the wars are being fought and conflicts are being had because of the materials and minerals that are in these places that need to be used for power-hungry governments. That could be the United States, or it could be Russia or the Ukraine. It could be China. It doesn't matter which one. It's just everybody's trying to jockey for a position to get precious metals on their plate, so they don't have to negotiate to buy it somewhere else. But there's been a 10% growth, no, 18% growth over the last 5 days for silver futures.
Yeah,
that's a big jump. I was talking to Nathan Mitchell. He's a big guy in Bigger Pockets. And we were just talking doomsday stuff, like end of the world stuff, of just shooting the shit. And I was like, I like silver because for 1 pound of silver at the time, it was $1,000. And if the world ever went to shit, you have smaller smaller amounts that you can barter with, like the old days back in the the old West. Other thing is obviously going to be bullets and ammunition and guns and all the other fun stuff. But in August of was it August? Yeah, in August it was $37 an ounce, and now it's $92 an ounce for a silver.
Yep.
Joe V says Aaron has a tinfoil hat. I would have never guessed. Joe V, Aaron would like you to join us one day on the live stream.
Yes.
But yeah, so Caleb, kind of going back to your I know you also touched on in the text messages that you have, I think 3-4 young kids, I believe it was, or so me and Aaron, we were also talking about the 529 yesterday a little bit.
Yeah.
Is that something you share to your coworkers or talk about and discuss?
I do. I mean, again, everyone has their priorities that they want to put. I know some people that put in 529s at the very beginning. For the most part, what I would recommend to most people is it's kind of like putting the oxygen mask on first before you put it on someone else. I'm going to be pretty not hard on my kids, but they're not going to just get a free ride. They're going to be going for scholarships. They're going to be, doing what they need to do if they have to work a little bit in school. I'm going to make sure that whatever they need is there, but the goal is not to, I don't need $100,000 per kid, to go to school. And you can still pay for that stuff. Like, again, it's just a tax game. The 529 is just a tax game. If you have enough money sitting in your Roth IRA or your 457, you can still pay for school out of that 457. There's a little bit of a tax thing, but I prioritize a little bit lower. But for a lot of people, it's like, hey, if you hit that HSA, if you hit the Roth IRA and you don't want to put anything in your 457, then just go ahead and, do the 529 next. And that's your priority, because you're like, I don't care, come hell or high water, I want my kid to go to the best school on the planet and I want to pay for every dime of it. Then great. It's personal finance is personal. But for me personally, I don't make that a huge priority. And although I probably would, again, $10,000-$20,000, make sure we have certain things covered. And if I can, then great. If I can make it a little bit more, then great.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the same sentiment we both had, but that's also why we brought up that it is becoming a lot more flexible, right? The 529 plan, because I think a lot of people were kind of avoiding it, not knowing if
Yes.
their kids were going to go to college, or like I said, even, the trades are getting very popular, so people aren't headed down that path. But now Jovi's being kind of shy. He says, no one wants to hear me. Aaron is much more knowledgeable. I tip my hat to him. I just stir shit up in the comments.
I need people like Joe V. Makes me
we're here for it.
John Litz is also tuning in, deconstructing your dreams. So there's his YouTube channel. I think you were on with him before, Aaron. He's the Dave Ramsey lookalike. If you can, go subscribe there. Yesterday was his birthday and also his 5th eye surgery. He's dealing with an eye issue. So so he's recovering, but he's also trying to get his new Airbnb up and running. So go check him out over there.
Fellow Capricorn, happy birthday.
Oh man, I forget, he's 58, I believe, somewhere around there. But that's also why he's doing the Airbnb route, is because he's trying to accelerate the cash flow, because he feels like his timeline is shorter to that retirement. So he's willing to put in the extra work and go that path.
It's definitely more work. We did Airbnb for about 8 years and loved it. It's awesome. It's really fun. But yeah, it's a lot of work.
Takes too much brain power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
57, he said he turned. All-Nighter Hider says, this being my last season fishing in Alaska, I plan on bringing back several hundred of lead to trade with. I smelt it into ingots too.
Pounds of lead.
Yeah.
Just spray paint it silver and just don't tell them that it's don't do that. Don't do that. Secret Service will be knocking at my door probably.
But how did you and Aaron connect, Caleb? Sounds like you guys
sent me a big pic on Instagram.
Yeah, just slid into the DMs,
I was impressed.
Yeah, aggressively.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like his page was up first. Their page was up before mine. I had started it, and then as you're looking stuff up, you're like, oh, there is a first responder financial freedom. You saw it on Facebook, and so then I ended up finding out they had a podcast, listened to their podcasts, and really enjoyed them. And so then a little while, I guess it was only about a month ago, a couple weeks ago, that I finally found Aaron, I think on Instagram, and it was just like, hey man, would love to connect sometime. And, that was it.
Yeah. He, once he sent me the message, I called him, and,
he called me.
We're in the same shift schedule. We're 24/72. So we work the same shift. So now I know who I can call in the middle of the night when I'm working.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because both of you can't figure out time zones. Apparently, like it's like our text messages are.
Man, the world revolves around the London time and the New York time. The rest of y'all are just.
I always put Eastern time because I figure it's the easiest for people to try to use one time. But did he ship any stuff to you yet, Caleb? Because now he's shipping worldwide his product.
Wow, man, I haven't gotten anything.
So there is Aaron's Instagram page where he does a lot of work. So go check out a lot of he does like retirement plaques and things like that. So he finally getting shipping worldwide going.
Nice.
I have one right here.
Heck yeah.
Oh, so I got one of the guys retiring, so I made him this one.
Nice. It's about time.
So that's going to be his Christmas ornament for when he leaves.
There you go.
For the 5.9 plan, one of the things we didn't mention was there's a $35,000 rollover into a Roth IRA now. That's a new thing, right. I think 2025 or 2026.
That's right.
So if the kids don't use it, then you can roll. And it's also, if I understand it correctly, and I could be completely wrong and making this up and talking out of my ass, the 529 plan might be just for the kids, but now you can use it for homeschooling. So
That's
if Caleb or me decides to homeschool our kids, Mark, I don't know if your kids are how old your boy is, what, teenager?
You're going to be 11 this year.
Yeah. So if you wanted to take your kid home and do homeschooling, then you can take the money out of the 529, and that'll pay for the homeschooling costs. I know Tyler does homeschooling for his kids. That helps me with we work together on the First Responder Financial Freedom Group. If he wants to take the money out of the 529 and use it towards the costs of running that out of his house, he can. Or if you just want to start one of these things like a daycare and live in Minneapolis, and you get $1 million.
That's so the live stream earlier this morning had Lauren on, and she is working on a boutique hotel in Idaho, and that was one of the comments. Someone said, "Why don't you just do a daycare center instead?" Great question from Brian Waters. Aaron, when is the podcast back up and running?
Yeah, no kidding.
I don't know. We don't know. It's so hard to organize. And Mark will tell you, like, at one point, it's hard to get 2 or 3 guys together that are in me and Mike in the same time zone. He's only probably an hour and a half, 2 hours from me. But Tyler being on the East Coast, he's a couple hours behind. Then we try to get somebody from like Texas, like Caleb, and he's an hour behind, and just trying to find somewhere where we all have kids, so it's just hard to find time where people can sit down for an hour or two. Plus, when we have people that don't show up, it makes it even harder because it's like we just wasted time because now I have to reschedule and I just lost an hour. And that time is valuable. Everybody knows that, especially when you have kids. So it's hard to justify it sometimes, especially because I've got, Caleb's got 4 kids under 6.
Yep.
And I've got 2 kids under 2.5. Mark has his 11-year-old. So it's kind of like juggling.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, Brian, in probably 2.5 years when I retire, and Mike will be retired too, we'll start knocking them out.
Shit, Tyler ain't got nothing to do. Let Tyler run it.
Tyler's like you. He likes to ask the questions and then just sit back.
Well, yeah. But here, so if you guys want to connect with Brian Waters, also there is his Code 3 and his Facebook page. You can follow him over there. But yeah, I'm very fortunate now that I have kind of a set guests that come on. So that's why my Monday, Tuesday, it's kind of a set people. I'm kind of following the Michael Zuber one rental at a time kind of blueprint, where he just kind of, after a while, he's kind of got these regular friends that join him weekly, and so it's easier to coordinate now. It's kind of set up, and they're trying to grow at the same time also, so it's kind of a win-win for everyone.
So the last podcast we did, I was talking about the government contracts. One of my vet buddies, he's a disabled vet. He was here up until like a half hour ago, right before this thing started. We were going over government contracts together and looking at stuff. And the one I said, the ballpark, or not the ballpark, the city park and college park that they're spending, I said $8 million. I was wrong. It's actually up to $9.2 million for 7 acres. So you're at, what's that, $1.25, $1.2 million an acre to renovate grass and dirt. So he was asking about the real estate side of it, and now we're talking about government contracts. And it just seems to me like once you go into an arena that's very saturated, it's hard to make the money because the profit margins diminish because your competition goes high. So we were talking about government contracts specifically because it's a much broader arena with a very small list of competitors. So I'm not going to tell anybody not to get into real estate. I would just say that when you start getting into stuff like this, whether it be real estate or 529 or whatever it is, educate yourself before you start wasting your brain power on it, because you might not be able to make the profit margins that you see all these gurus talking about. In 2008 and before that, like I can go on, well, not before it, 2008, 2009, 2010, you can go on MLS and you can cherry pick properties and make money off of. Before that, when it was going astronomically high, you could not. So timing the market also does not work, but you also have to know what season of the market it's in, and if it's worth it to put the effort into it. That's why I like woodwork, because woodwork is always in demand.
Yeah, right.
And you're shipping now, so it's going to help your business, right? So
wood is the rarest material in the universe, right?
What's that?
You would?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's what they said.
Random fact. If you ever go to Iceland, Iceland cannot grow trees. So the wood that they have there is all imported, or if you have waterfront property and the wood washes up on shore, it's yours.
Hmm, very
There's more
nice.
sheep in Iceland than people also.
Yasik, who's in New Jersey, said, "Who puts out fires if all firefighters are doing YouTube live streams?"
It's somebody else's turn to take a nap today.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, stay. Someone else's turn to knit.
Caleb, I also want to, ask, was there a moment though that kind of put you down this path? Like, a lot of people, I tell them, for me, it was really when 2020, when everything shut down. It just kind of that idea of living off of one income or one stream of income, right? It kind of said, this is very risky, what I'm trying to do, just waiting for a pension, right? So was there any moment for you that kind of put this down the path for you?
Hold on. What happened in 2020, Mark?
You can dig into it, but you can put your tin foil hat on
What
and
did you call it before? A what?
the pandemic, or what
Oh,
else?
that's right. That's right.
The
Hey,
pandemic, or what was the other
perfect.
word for it? I
Total
forget.
bullshit.
Yeah.
All right, sorry.
Or the cerveza virus is what it was called.
Yes, yes. Man, I was very fortunate to have my mom and dad. I was homeschooled. Speaking of homeschooling, I was homeschooled, and as part of my junior year, my mom had me go through Financial Peace University. So we talk a lot about like how schools don't teach financial literacy, and yeah, we did. That was part of our high school curriculum, and so went through that. Kind of knew everything I was supposed to do, but at the same time, coming out, you get a job and you're 20 and you want to have fun. And so you're like, yeah, I'm putting a bunch in the pension. I'm good. I didn't start a Roth IRA or anything like that. We'll end up getting married. And my wife also was very frugal. And we set up when we got married that we were only going to, had started a business. She was a wedding photographer. And we set it up that, hey, our living expenses are coming out of the fire department salary. We're going to set up our everything to where that's how we're going to live. Your money is going to go into a separate account, and that's how we're going to travel. That's how we're going to invest. And, I think a lot of people, maybe a generation ahead of me, were, Robert Kiyosaki, and we did read that. And that was definitely a game changer. Rich Dad Poor Dad was definitely like a book we read together. But then getting onto Bigger Pockets and, listening to those podcasts and being like, man, like that's cool. Like we could do that. And so then we would buy houses and live in flip ourselves. And then we ended up buying some Airbnbs. Downtown San Antonio, and right now we have about 5 doors. And so it was just kind of getting into it kind of slowly but surely, and then building her business and never really living off of. We did live off of it in that we took some trips and we did some fun things with the money, but for the most part we were at about a 50% savings rate starting at age 25 and 27. And it's actually dwindled a little bit now, but I tell people all the time, it's like, that's why you start early. Time in the market is better than timing the market. And if you can start early and let that grow, go through some down cycles, go through the up cycles, it's going to go up and to the right. And so get in now and then don't think about it. And it's your savings rate early on will determine where you are in your 30s and 40s. And that's when you're really going to want to be looking for what your options are. When you're in your 20s, you're just like, I'm just going to work, man. I'm going to work, and then I'm going to hang out with my friends. And, it's just getting people to set a vision for their life and think a little bit and just say, what's a goal? Just start thinking about goals, start thinking about yourself at 50 and ask yourself, is this going to be enough? Or, what do I want? Kind of thing. But to answer your question, it really started pretty early. And the education piece started real early.
That's important. I didn't have that.
Yeah.
I think it's another thing that, like in the blue collar world, like we don't have a lot of people teaching this stuff. So like once somebody learns it and they try to relay the information, firefighters and cops and a lot of military guys kind of like, meh, it's not really important. I've got my pension, I've got my money coming in, I've got my savings. So they ignore it and not realize like this could be a financial benefit for the rest of our lives. So I'm working on a presentation for our recruits, and I sent it to Caleb the other day when I was at work. It hits a lot of information, And I think it's going to overwhelm the recruits, but at the same time, they can always go back and read it and relate to it and see if it makes sense to them eventually as they go down the road. We didn't have access to that information when I was growing up.
Is this set up through the department? Like they?
So I offered it to them. I've been offering it to them for years. So I used to run the recruit training for DC a long time ago, a different lifetime ago. And I've always tried to, I guess I'm the mindset, like I like to see people do better. I don't get any benefit from this. I'm not going to get overtime probably. The best I can get is maybe like get you detail down there for the day half for the morning so I can teach a class for an hour or two. But it's going to be through a downtime, through a new portion of the recruit training while they're in the academy. If they take it, they do. If they take it, they take it. If they don't, then I have a group on called DCFD Investing and Learning on Facebook, and I'll put the same information on there for guys to relate to. Like right now, we're at a contract. Yesterday, the union put out information saying, we're likely going to go to arbitration, and I think a lot of guys don't understand what arbitration is or what that looks like or why we don't have a contract. So I try to break it down into layman's terms, because when you're 20 years old and you get hired, 25 years old when you get hired, whatever, you don't know what this stuff is. You don't know how it impacts you. You're just happy to kick in doors and save babies.
Exactly.
Well, I almost was gonna say that's why I feel like it's almost. I'm surprised that your department would welcome it. Like providing that information is almost like providing the other guys an avenue out early, possibly, right? If they do things right. So it's almost like you're giving them this knowledge to benefit themselves, to where they don't really need to rely on the job. And even like overtime, like, maybe I don't need overtime because I'm generating this extra, or I'm doing so. I always thought of it like almost like how we talk about how schools don't educate us on finances, right? It's almost like to put you in the rat race or headed down the path of just relying on a job. I was like, I wonder if the fire departments kind of would frown upon someone presenting to them, hey, can I introduce this kind of class to the recruits or something? So
I think the thing is, though, like it depends on who's in charge. So like in my almost 23 years in the fire department, I've had, I think, 9 fire chiefs. I've probably had a dozen to 2 dozen medical directors. I think I told Caleb that the other night we were on the phone. So obviously everybody's view is going to be different. I have a lot of chiefs. There's a lot of chiefs on the job right now who I came on the job with. And a lot of them are making these strides now to better themselves. So I think it's kind of like, oh, well, if somebody would have told us this 25 years ago instead of, us figuring it out for ourselves 10 years ago, we might be in a better position. So why not spend an hour instead of doing like self-teaching, education, reading, whatever they're doing at their downtime, like have somebody come in and just talk in their ear for an hour, give them a PowerPoint. If they want to take it, they can take it. But my thing is that when you present to first responders and military guys, you need to, this talking to them is worthless. Like they need visuals. So I try to bring, like, I think PowerPoints are shit. So like I'll go off and go like open up a Facebook page and be like, look at this, this, and this, and this. Let's open this link and this, this, and this. How do we relate this? And I'm of the mindset when you teach something, you tell them, you show them, and then you have them teach it back to you. That's the best way for first responders to learn. Is that they're not going to, if they can't teach it back to you, they didn't absorb the information that you relate to them. So for me, I think it's very important, and I like seeing guys do in a better position because I think it builds better bonds. Your most stressed out friends are the poorest ones. So if I can get people in a better financial position as they're getting older, then I think it'll be a healthier atmosphere when they come to the firehouse. Take that for what it's worth.
No, I think you're exactly right. I mean, it's a huge stress, and it's like we're already not getting enough sleep. We're already seeing traumatic scenes, and now you throw in the fact that you can't pay your bills. It's the only stress that we can really control. I think I posted a little post about that the other day where it's like, just, you got to control what you can control. You can't control what you're going to see. You can't control who's going to call in the middle of the night. It may be 6 after midnight. Yeah, there's nothing you can do. But you signed up for that. I don't know what to tell you, but the financial piece, if you set yourself up correctly and if you control your spending and you do all the the right steps, when you don't have that and you're going to work because you truly love the job, it's a whole new job. It
Once
really
you change
is.
that mindset to where it's just a job, like it's not a career, like you just got to show up, like it just changes your whole outlook. Like if you're tired of going to work, then your attitude changes, your drive for further education changes. I just think it creates a negative forward approach versus a positive one.
Yeah. But Mark, I think you're right. I mean, it if you get it out to enough people and you get enough guys setting themselves up correctly, you do run into a little bit of an issue, right? To where, I mean, if you have everybody retiring at 20 or 23 or 20 instead of 33, 34, like the math is interesting. I still don't think everyone's going to do it, because you have to get in. Finance is so much deeper than just like, oh, just here, let me work with your paycheck. Okay, now you're good for the rest of your life. Like, guys are going to go in and change it 6 months later and, stop putting any money in. But, I think it's going to be for the few, and for the few, it's going to make an absolute massive difference just because they didn't have the knowledge. They had the drive, they had the want to, but they didn't have the knowledge.
I'll just give you an example. So for Washington D.C., there was a massive hiring freeze during the 80s and 90s.
Yeah,
because the city was poor. It was the crack war was going on when I was growing up. So now that we got into the early 2000s, we did a massive hiring thing. So in the year 2028 to 2030, 18 to 20% of Washington D.C. fire department are eligible to retire. Whether they do or not is up in the air. From 2028 until 2034, half of our fire department is eligible to leave. So what are going to be the determining factors if somebody's going to leave? Usually it's going to be finances. Do they have something else to do? Are they tired of being here? Do they want to do something else? Or has the politics of the job affected them? Have the calls affected them? We had that nasty plane crash, helicopter into the plane, a couple, I guess, last year now, and that affected a bunch of guys. So they're like, I'm done. I'm checked out. I'm ready to go. So I think there's a lot of factors that go into this. But I think it gives them a better option, a better opportunity to have a better future.
Yeah.
Hyder, you brought this up a little bit, Aaron, but he says, I hear arbitration. Great way to keep attorneys out of a case, therefore saving on fees.
So my entire career, we've always been at a contract. At the end of our contract, we go out and then it goes into arbitration every single time. It's just how it is. The problem is that the recent contract that we've been out for about a year now, is that it's affecting guys' vision and dental plans. And now they're starting to take notice, like, hey, if we've been going out, that's part of the negotiation process. Why aren't we getting covered for vision and dental? So it's because that's part of the contract that we argue with the city. So the city never wants to pay. We think that we're worth our weight in gold. So you got to find the happy medium. Usually most fire departments I've seen across the board, across the country, is a 0 to 4% growth per year, or if you do a 3-year contract, somewhere in the 12% range. And that's kind of expected. But the problem I have with how we negotiate our contracts is that we're not keeping up with Social Security or cost of living wage increases. So for us, I think we're behind, I don't know, like 1% over the last decade. So for me, I'm like, well, we're not even keeping up with Social Security raises. So why? We're not keeping up with our insurance rates. We're not keeping up with our taxes, our insurance, our health. So you're not really getting a raise. You're just maintaining your level of spending.
Well, and this is something that guys need to really understand about their pension as well. For most pensions, you're looking at a COLA of 1 to 2.5%. And so, when you're having inflation of 9%, and you just won't keep up with it. And so, especially, we're going to live longer. The data's there. Everyone's going to, for the most part, on average, will be living longer. Even firefighters will, we're all, we're having better practices. We're going to have fewer bouts of cancer. Fighting cancer will get better. We're going to live a little bit longer. And your pension that you thought was going to last you for 40, 50 years, it'll last you, but you will not, in 40 years, it will not be the same amount of money. It just won't. And it will not have adjusted the same way that your 457 or your Roth IRA would have.
So I'm going to do a screen share again, if it's okay with Mark.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
So this is the DCFD group that I run. This is just one of the things I posted about, a week or so ago, is that you look at the cost of Social Security increases, 2.8, 2.5, or the projected for this year is 2.8, 2.5 last year, 3.2, 8.7, 5.9, blah, blah, blah. So it goes down. I'm like, okay, well, if you compare that to what our raises are, it's usually behind. And that's just not the fire department I work for, it's across the board. So at what point is it worth it to keep working if you can collect Social Security? We don't pay into Social Security. We're a self-funded retirement account. So, but there are guys, the fire departments that do. So like at what point does it make more sense to not stay at work and maybe get a 1 or 2% raise and go to get Social Security and collect and get 2.8, 2.5, 3.2, excuse me. There's a whole bunch of other ones about this, but I want to kind of bring that up because our COLAs are capped at 3%, right? So if I know that historically we've been getting a 1 to 3% raise and the COLAs are projected to be 3%, why am I going to take the risk of staying at work and maybe getting a less of a raise rather than retire and collecting a 3% raise as long as the market's doing good? So I think a lot of things guys don't take that into account either. It's like, I want to get the maximum amount possible, but if I leave and I can get 3% for 3 years in a row, it beats the 1 or 2% that I might have gotten as a raise. So that's something else to think about.
Yeah.
Yasik is saying, I tried to educate people financially in both my military units as well as my company. One thing I see repeating itself is everyone wants to, but few are willing to do the work. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, and I think that is another reason that I'll do the work. We'll put together the pamphlet. So all you have to do is read it and you don't have to do the math, as much friction loss as we can reduce. Let's do that. And, that's really, I think when you can help people realize, look, I don't need you to put into every single account. You don't need to max out everything. If you can just do these few things, you will win the tax game and you will retire with plenty of money to work with, and you'll be safe. You'll be more than safe. And if you want to go, all out and you want to get into it, then you can go buy rental property. You can go, max out you can go and invest into small companies and watch their growth and go see if you can get 400% return. And, great. That's awesome too. But it's not necessary. And it doesn't have to be hard. If we can really I think we can get past the hard piece.
I think the hardest part is just guys like being able to absorb the information and utilizing it. Like I said before, like knowledge is great, but knowledge and use is power. So Yasik's thing is like, I agree with you. Like I've talked to guys about this every day for the last 20 years. And I think a lot of people they want to hear it. They want to hear it. But when it takes them to make an actionable move, that's where the block is. Because they're like, I don't know what to do. So what do I do? I'm just going to sit here with my hands in my pocket instead because it's easier. And I think that everything we talk about goes back to a budget. If you don't know your cost of living, wages for your life, or your projections for the future, then why would you care?
Yep.
So if you're willfully ignorant that you don't want to know what the cost of your future is going to be, then you just keep riding the high horse until the horse dies. So when the horse dies, it gets a lot more harder.
Yep.
I don't know if Jovi is taking a jab at firefighters, saying it needs to be an audible version of the pamphlet.
Audible, visual.
But yeah, it's good to have you guys on. Caleb, hopefully
Thanks,
people reach out to you. I do kind of want to wrap it up with a few things. One, I did see somebody sent me an Instagram post, maybe kind of a misconception of the fire department. And this person was talking, or he must have been a fire cap or fire in some department, but he was saying they pay for their own food. So I don't know about you guys. Do you guys pay for your own meals or food? Or how do you guys do it? Really? Yeah, I think is one of the last fire department. We still get meal allowance. That is one of we get like $10 per person on the truck. So whether you show up or not, there's still a $10 allotment for.
I guess that it's a little harder to cook for $10 in Hawaii. I don't know if it is.
Oh yeah, it doesn't go that far anymore. But I think we're one of the last that still gets a meal allowance. Okay. I think every year that whenever the contract comes up, they're always trying to take it or get rid of it. Sure. But then our union side is kind of, well, if you take that away, then we want cleaning services to come in because we clean our own. No other city entity cleans their own facilities. So that's kind of where they push back.
We do.
I'll tell them like you can have my $10. By all means, here's my $10. Give me 1%.
Yeah. Right. No. So that was the one. I think he stepped up. So the previous fire chief, that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to get rid of that and somehow incorporate it into the paycheck, because he's like, because we are running into issues now because we have vegans and vegetarians, and it's like,
Oh yeah.
so so we don't want to go, but there's guys, so some guys complain about it, some guys don't, right? And it's like, hey, you're using my money. And so yeah,
We do $20 a day, 3 square meals, and then it is what it is. Like, you get what you get. They try to make like exceptions like sometimes, but like, we're not making an entire like menu for one person. Like, sorry, bro, you're out. Whether you want to be or not.
Yeah, we usually just do dinner, and back when I came in, it was $5 a man. Like that you for $5 a man, you could get a pretty decent, a half decent meal. And now it's up to probably $8 a person. That gets you dinner, which is still pretty good. But
Shoot.
Joel V does say though, the one time I wasn't taking a jab, I was just saying to make it more receptive to people.
I think the visual and audio depends on who you are, like how you take information in is very important.
yeah, if you ever want to, I'd be fine to, it might be worth doing a podcast on going through the steps and just talking through each one of them, for everybody to hear it.
Yeah.
Can I get one more visual before we hop off? And I swear it's not going to be X-rated.
Oh, well, sure.
All right,
it's not the message Caleb sent you, right?
No.
You can't see that. He can barely see it.
I'm not going to touch that. So if you look at silver and gold, so I'll open up silver for now.
Oh, yeah.
Gold tracks along with it for the last 5 years. It kind of has just been stagnant. It goes up and down a little bit, but doesn't have much variance. But if you look for the last 6 months, where it's kind of skyrocketed, I don't know why. My tinfoil hat obviously says there might be reasons. I just don't know what those reasons are. Gold price, the same thing.
I think there's a little bit of a short squeeze on it too. So they're trying to kind of like what they did to AMC. They're trying to run it, but
so there's the last thing I'm going to show is this is the gold one. Obviously the variances, but as it goes up, it makes me question the reasons, like Caleb was just saying. The other one was just that usually if you go to a place, you can buy it for cheaper. So this is the place I go to. It's local to me. It's 20 minutes away. I can go there and buy the bars. The price varies depending on if you're going to wire it, Bitcoin, PayPal, cash, whatever it is. So I usually pay cash for these. I used to give these to my nephews and nieces as a Christmas gift, but I think they might have to get a little pricey.
Looks like Brian Waters is saying, I think maybe they still get a meal allowance also. But we'll wrap it up with that. You brought up so Zuber did have a question. I think it was, or not a question poll, but it was a few weeks ago. Silver to 100, Bitcoin to 150, or gold to 5,000. Which one do you think is going to hit first?
I couldn't tell you.
At this rate, it's probably gonna be silver.
Yeah,
for sure. But
silver is there's less silver than there is gold in the world.
Yeah, silver is right there. It's knocking on the door, I think, pretty soon.
Again, they're all great. They're all good diversifiers. I mean, anything you want to put, 3% of your net worth into, go for it. Oh man, and crayons too.
Yeah, so
Joe, I need to eat those things. Those things are tasty.
Yeah, so the big final question then, Caleb, why did you leave the fire truck to jump on the ambulance?
Well, it's the schedule, man. It's the schedule. In San Antonio, fire division is 2448 and EMS is 2472. So most guys, they jump after 3 or 4 years and then they end up coming back promoting out or something like that. But I did 13 years at a very busy house downtown. Fought a lot of fire, was living the dream life. And, once you have kids, you realize that time at home is probably more advantageous than time over at the station. So, again, and it gave me, I want to encourage people with this, what you do early on in your career will give you options late. It's not even just about retirement. It's about later on in your career. I didn't work a single shift of overtime that last year in 2025. And that's because, I wanted to be home and I could not have done that without having both the discipline built in and then the growth over those 15 years.
Good answer.
Yep. And then Hyder says, amen, all 3 plus real estate to fund purchases. And last time though, there is Caleb's Instagram page. If you want to
Thank
connect
you.
with him there, follow him there. There's the First Responder Financial Freedom YouTube, and also Aaron's new shipping platform for his Instagram page. So go check him out there if you need anything to be made. Caleb
It'll take at
couldn't
least
stand.
2.5 years to get to you. I'm telling you now.
I want my logo. I want something so I can put in my background when I actually get a podcast studio set up.
Do you have a logo?
Yeah, I have my logo. Hold on, if I go off camera, that's my logo.
There it is, baby.
Hang on, I go back to you. I was looking it up. Why is it so? Why is there so much going on, bro? It's like a shiny ball, like a Christmas
It's like
ornament.
my head, man.
It's like,
All right, yeah, we'll get you guys back on. Anytime you guys want to do it, let me know, and we'll get another one set up. Maybe Tyler can join us too, right? So, or even Brian. Brian can jump on with us. But
hell yeah.
all right, yeah, thanks for doing this, and yeah, I'll see you guys then.
Appreciate you, Mark.
Okay.
Aloha.
See you.